What's up, YouTube? Do we have any video? Do we have any video? Do we have any video? Looks like we do not have video. Just a moment. Let me play with the camera. Hmm. I don't think we're having any luck with this particular camera. Let me try backup camera. All right, let's see here. Settings. Hey yo. Hey yo. All right. Can everybody see me? We good to go? Let's see what I've got going on the live stream. We live? All right. All right. What's going on, everybody? How are you? How's everyone doing? Are we gearing up for a big week? Look at Casey. Look at Casey saying we are alive and well. Let me make sure this is adjusted the way I want it. In case y'all don't know, I just want to start this out again today saying we've got the GIE this week. GIE 2017. I am super, super, super excited. Again, if anybody wants to come hang out, talk, whatever, shoot the breeze, you can find me at the Permagreen booth. I'll be there pretty much the entire weekend. I'll take a few minutes to walk around, and you know, there's going to be a few things I want to check out while I'm there that will benefit me, business related. So, but for the most part, if you want to find me, stop by the Permagreen booth, and you will find me. You will find me. So anyway, I hope all of y'all are doing well. Had a good week this week, getting some loose ends tied up on my aeration overseed schedule. Trying to get everything wrapped up before I leave town. So, you know, for the most part, all in all, everything's going well. Casey, I don't know anything about their giveaway. I'm sure I'll have all the information at the booth, but right now at this time, I have no idea what is going on with their giveaway. They always do something every year. I know before they've given away like $100 every 10 minutes or hour or something on the hour. They give away $100, and every year they usually give away a machine. So you know, there's definitely a lot to get involved with while you're there. And, you know, for those of you who've never been, it's a riot. I mean, just an absolute riot in every sense of the word. Every company that's there, that's a presenter, I mean, they just really go all out, above and beyond. And I mean, it is a showcase. Even if you're not a business owner and this is something you just enjoy doing on the side, or even as a homeowner, I recommend you going, because it is mind-blowing the amount of money, logistics, effort, time that goes into planning for this event. I mean, this is like the epitome of what the green industry is about, from an equipment standpoint. So it's really just something special. Yep, Eli, Greene County Fert's going to be there. I'm going to try and hang out with John Perry while there, and a couple of those guys for a little while. So if y'all don't know, John Perry is the owner and I would say chief agronomist, soil scientist behind Greene County Fertilizer. They have a branded product line called BioGreen, and that's basically you don't have to buy a license to be part of their BioGreen program. However, you do have to commit to using their product. And there are some differences between BioGreen and what Greene County Fertilizer has to do, but it's set up more for liquid. And if you don't know, I refuse to go to a liquid program because I have Permagreens, and my Permagreens make me more money than I could if I was pulling a hose spraying yards. So unfortunately, I'll never be able to join the BioGreen program unless he does go granular. Then maybe I will. Telly Coleman plugging the Lawn Forum. I will plug the Lawn Forum as well. For those of you that have not joined, go to thelawnforum.com, sign up. It is a great group of guys there, guys and girls, I'm sure. And the amount of knowledge that's passed on in the Lawn Forum is fantastic. There are people there working with warm season and cool season turf that have really, I mean, gone above and beyond taking their lawn to the next level. I mean, people that have spent tons and tons of time leveling out their properties just so they can mow it with a real mower. I mean, just truly exceptional turf professionals, even though they're only homeowners, at the Lawn Forum. Thelawnforum.com. So y'all check that out. All right, now let's get down to business. Here we are, mid-October. What do you have planned for your lawn? What are your questions in this point of the season? What in the world can y'all ask me today? Because I love to help you out however I can. And there we go. We've got some questions coming in. Have a large patch of zoysia here in New York. Don't like it. What do you suggest? Robert, I'm assuming if you're in New York, you have a cool season lawn. I would suggest Pilex. Pilex is shown to control zoysia grass. So if you have access to Pilex, I would jump on it, do some Pilex applications. If you do not have access to Pilex, then I suggest using a non-selective herbicide like glyphosate and Roundup it out. Have you used any season-long fertilizers from Site 1, and would you recommend it? Lewis, I haven't. It's kind of an interesting subject here. There are, when they say a season-long fertilizer, usually that has to deal with the amount of coating that they actually put on the fertilizer prill to slow the release of that fertilizer. Do they work? Yes. However, because of that thick coating on them, they're not exactly predictable as to their release rate. So while it may say that it's going to release over 45 days or it's going to release over 90 days, like a duration 90. The issue is that it's all temperature dependent. And sometimes they'll use a formulation like methylene urea, which is going to be microbial activity dependent. And then sometimes, you know, they'll, like, you've got products like the Osmocote that is more of a wax base, and that's going to be a temperature and moisture dependent. So they're not exactly perfect yet, but they are really good. I would use season-long fertilizers, but I would still do it with the understanding that you're going to have to supplement in between applications to really maintain peak performance. So probably what would be best would be to go out with a season-long fertilizer, then a month later go back with a organic fertilizer, and then maybe another month after that go out with another organic fertilizer, and then you'll really maximize the duration of color throughout that season. But as far as just using a season-long slow release fertilizer, no, I wouldn't use that alone. About when do you do your last seed for the season? Getting late, too late to put seed down in Maryland. Bert, our soil temperatures are still close to 70 degrees. So this year, we're probably going to continue putting out seed up until Halloween. And then after that, I will call it. Rob Hawkins, grub death, permethrin, it works. Yes, sir, indeed. Permethrin is good stuff. If anybody ever runs into sod webworms or army worms, I mean, you just cannot get a better, faster knockdown than permethrin. It's cheap, extremely effective. So I highly, highly, highly recommend that product. All right. Let me get caught up here. Is soil test applicable at this time? Yes, absolutely, Casey. Any time of the year is a good time for a soil test. It doesn't matter what time of the year it is. What are some general guidelines you use with surfactants if the label does not recommend a rate? Eli, I would go by a percentage. So if it does not recommend a rate, go by a percentage. So if you're using 10 gallons of spray volume, that's going to be, what is that, 12,000 ounces of actual material. So you take your gallons, convert it to ounces, and then take 1% of the total number of ounces that you're using. Hey, buddy. Sorry, my kids are walking in while I'm doing this. So convert it to ounces and then take a percentage of your ounces. And usually 1% by volume is what you're looking for on a surfactant. So if you got 10 gallons of spray solution, that's going to be, you're going to do 12 ounces for every 10 gallons of spray solution. Got some Bermuda that greened back up after 3 apps of Pylex. CW, once you get a couple of cuts on your fescue or bluegrass or whatever it is, go ahead and make another application of Pylex. And that's coming from BASF. I asked them about that, and they said, go ahead and hit it again. Brad Grossman says, wife's called me out, watch the replay, but I put some Bondi weed beater on my St. Augustine grass. MCPA, Mecaprop, Dicamba, and Carfentrazone. It scorched my St. Augustine, even though it said it was safe for St. Augustine. Yeah, Brad. Okay, so this is that time of year where soil temperatures are still high, even though ambient air temperatures have dropped a little bit, and you know, those are some pretty decent herbicides you're using there. MCPA is going to be a little tough on St. Augustine. Mecaprop and Dicamba going to be a little tough on them. Carfentrazone is going to actually cause some tissue damage. Chances are it's not going to hurt your St. Augustine long term. The effects you see from it are going to be short term. However, it is going to look burned for a little while. So don't be too discouraged by it. You can go after it with a little bit of fertilizer, do something relatively low analysis, preferably something low analysis with micronutrients, and you know, maximize your green up that way instead of just pushing just a ton of growth. Push a little bit of growth to grow out the damage, and use your micronutrients to make sure you get that health and photosynthesis taking place as quickly and as efficiently as possible as we start to move into winter, so those stored carbohydrates will do good. CD Andrews, what's up, my man? I have a few spots of fungus in newly seed area due to unreasonable heat and humidity. Can I apply a curative fungicide app or let it go? Oh, man, that's a tough question. Yes, you can apply a curative fungicide app. Is that the right answer? I don't know. I don't know if there is a right answer or a wrong answer on how to handle it. Really, it's just however you prefer to handle it. You know, baby grass is going to be more sensitive than, you know, an established, you know, thick lawn. So I would check your forecast for the next little bit. Maybe dial back the water if you have to. You know, begin to start watering after you subject the grass to a little bit of drought stress. So let it begin to need a little bit, and then begin watering, and see if that can't help curtail a little bit of the disease. It may be time to go ahead and fertilize it too. I wouldn't be scared to hammer it with fertilizer. That's one of the things that I usually do, that I have really no dread about, because even if you take a patch of disease this big and it does get burned down because of the disease, chances are the root system is still there and it's still going to generate new growth, and it'll still fill in that area. So me personally, I would probably handle it with more fertilizer, as bad as that sounds. Let's see. I'm about a week away from putting down ammonium sulfate at 5 pounds per 1,000. I'm about an hour east of you. With the weather the way it has been, would it be best to go ahead with ammonium sulfate or use a different fertilizer? I mean, you can use ammonium sulfate or a different fertilizer. It doesn't matter. Ammonium sulfate at 5 pounds per 1,000. That's a pound of N. That's all quick release, and that is all from a relatively high salt index. So just to kind of warn you, that's a hot mix. But looking at the forecast we have over the next couple of weeks, I think you'll be fine with it. If you didn't want to go the ammonium sulfate route, you know, go out with like 2 pounds per 1,000 of urea. Either one are going to be fine. Ammonium sulfate, of course, is going to give you more oxygen at the soil surface, and it will be instantly readily available. So I actually like your choice. I may dial that back just a hair, though. I may go 4 pounds per 1,000, but at that point, 4 or 5 pounds per 1,000, just run with it, get it down, and pray for rain, and you should be good. Brad, I understand it looks like hay. So the problem is that the carfentrazone itself actually, that's what it's going to do. It's going to dehydrate that leaf tissue because of the penetration. So it's an ethyl. It's going to be derived from petroleum distillate. So it is actually going to have penetrating qualities, and as it penetrates that waxy tissue on the St. Augustine, it's going to open it up to even greater amounts of respiration. And so as it's opened up to that much respiration that it's not normally accustomed to, it's going to lose a lot of that moisture in the leaf blade, and that's what's going to leave it looking like hay. So again, I doubt it's long-term damaged. It should be just in the short term. Suggestions for broadleaf weed control in 4-week-old fescue. We did a total kill, so all the grass is new. CW, I probably wouldn't do anything. Just leave the broadleaf weeds alone. And then, you know, maybe at the end of the month, you know, let it get to 6 weeks old, and you get a couple cuts on it, and then use a product like triclopyr, or if it's cooled down enough, or if not, then use a product like 3-Way. But I just let it go, let the broadleaf weeds do what they're going to do. Continue to, you know, beat it with fertilizer, and then get after it with a product like triclopyr once it really starts to cool off. C.D. Andrews, you're a smart man. Get the fert down, sir. Get the fert down. Somebody coined that phrase. Get the fert down. I like that. All right, everybody, what else is going on out there? What else is going on out there? You know, here's to kind of dive into what Perry Sutherland was talking about, using ammonium sulfate. Typically, I use ammonium sulfate when soil temperatures begin to drop pretty significantly. And the reason being is so when you have urea, urea has to react with urease, which is naturally occurring in the soil. So they're actually, the warmer the temperatures, the faster the reaction urea will have with the urease in the soil. As long as it's cool enough outside, as long if it's especially cooler outside, soil temperatures have dropped. That reaction from urea with urease to create your NH4 and NH3 is going to happen extremely slowly, and you're going to have a higher potential to lose that urea to runoff, leaching, denitrification due to the exposure to the atmosphere. So as it begins to cool off, it's more important to shift your end source to a source like ammonium sulfate, which is going to be immediately readily available once it's dissolved in water. Once urea is dissolved in water, it's still not a readily usable nitrogen form. It has to react with urease to become a usable nitrogen form. So just keep that in mind. Yep, good call, Perry. Good call. That's exactly how you want to do it. Me personally, I like to go with ammonium sulfate for those reasons, especially in case we have severe drops in temperature or early in the spring trying to get a head start. Go ahead and put your ammonium sulfate down, get your color response, and don't lose it to the environment or water or leaching or exposure to the air. Rough stalk bluegrass, poetriv in a Kentucky bluegrass lawn. I tried Tenacity 2 amps 2 weeks apart. Tenacity heard it but didn't kill it. What's your thoughts? My thoughts are Tenacity is not going to work on poetriv. Instead of using Tenacity on poetriv, use Certainty. I believe sulfurfuron Certainty is labeled to control poetriv in Kentucky bluegrass. Be careful. Test an area first because Certainty will also kill tall fescue. So just keep that in mind. Be very, very, very careful with the Certainty in your Kentucky blue. Caught a case of Pythium on newly seeded fescue. What can I do to get control? Jason, register. There is a product called Subdue Max. Methanoxam is the active ingredient. That would be what you use to control Pythium. That being said, if it's newly seeded fescue and it may be, if you've still got enough time, it may be better just to let it run its course and then start over. Chances are, if you're getting Pythium and newly seeded fescue, it's because you put down too much grass seed. So keep that in mind. If you do have to reseed some of those areas, dial back your seed rates and allow as much airflow in there as possible. What's the difference between surfactants and uses like MSO or non-ionic or ionic? Telly Coleman, that's a good question. The difference between non-ionic and ionic, I don't really know a whole lot about. But if we're talking about MSO, crop oil concentrate, and non-ionic surfactant, I did a video about the different surfactants. And so I'll start with a non-ionic. It is literally designed to decrease surface tension in water. So you could best compare it to like a baby shampoo. Shampoo has ammonium lauryl sulfate in it, which is designed to reduce surface tension. That's going to be one of the it will be a very, very, very similar compound in a non-ionic surfactant as to like ammonium lauryl sulfate. So again, that primary purpose is to break surface tension. MSO, methylated seed oil, is going to be more of a penetrant and designed to break surface tension. So if you think about the way oil and water mixes, not very well, methylated seed oil, it's going to allow for a little bit of dispersion of the herbicide across the leaf surface because it hasn't exactly blended well with the oil in it. Also, the oil is going to increase the penetration factor. So oils are going to break down waxes and fats and lignins and so it's going to open that leaf tissue up to take in more herbicide. Now you have a methylated seed oil, and then you have a crop oil concentrate, which is similar to a methylated seed oil, but it's going to be a synthetic version. And typically that is going to have the highest rate of penetration and the highest rate of surface tension reduction. And if you even wanted to take it to the next step, there's products that combine crop oil concentrates with organosilicones, which is going to have the highest amount of surface tension reduction. Coupled with the crop oil concentrate, which is going to have the highest penetration factor, that's going to be some serious stuff. So that surfactant Hawkeye that has Site 1 cells, that's a Lesco label. And then there's also Dynamic, which Helena carries. That is, it's serious stuff. So hope that answers that question. Weather has been nuts in Northeast Tennessee. Perry, I guess y'all have been going through the same drought we have. Do you treat most of your clients with the same NPK amounts during rounds, or do you have many different products on the truck, make adjustments as needed on site? Gore, I make many adjustments as needed on site. In terms of fertilizer, I usually don't carry a whole lot of different fertilizers on my truck. Usually I go out with 2, most of the time just 1. And, you know, it's funny, I get asked sometimes about what spreader setting do I have on my Permagreen. I don't use a spreader setting. I do it all by touch and feel and by what the lawn's telling me. So, but again, I mean, after 10 years, when I go to a yard, I know exactly where I need to be. I know what I need to see coming out of the front of my hopper to know how much I'm, you know, to know if this bag of fertilizer is going to last for 10,000 square feet. I've just, at this point in my career, that's not something I really have to pay attention to anymore. So I couldn't really give you an exact answer, but yes, most of my yards do get varying amounts of NP&K during rounds, and I make adjustments on the fly pretty much every property that I'm on. Derek, you're in Massachusetts, man. You're way up there in the Northeast. What do they call the people up in Massachusetts? Well, I guess that's in Boston. They call them massholes. I got a friend up there in Boston now. He just moved up there. He says he loves it. Makes me want to go visit. Do you think we have enough time here in Tennessee to get 2 more full apps? Yes, sir, Perry. Absolutely. We got plenty of time, especially gauging by the way things are going right now. Man, we're going to be going right up until Christmas. No doubt. No doubt. What are you doing for your follow-up app on the yard you just completely renovated? RGS and InCharge? Casey, no. I'm going to go with a 24-4-8 with micronutrients and RGS. And I'm going to put down about 1.25 pounds to 1.5 pounds in with that application. A month after overseeding my tall fescue, my lawn is being invaded by clover and a few dandelions. I tried Roundup for lawns on the clover. It didn't work very well. What can you recommend? Thanks. Again, American Troy, I would let it go for a little bit. You know, let it up. As soon as you get a couple cuts on the yard, then go ahead and do an application of a 3-way broadleaf herbicide. Try not to use anything from a big box store. Even though it has similar active ingredients, typically it's I don't know. I don't know. I would just recommend going to like a co-op or a Site 1 or something, or a local lawn and garden store, picking up a real thing of 3-way herbicide and doing your application that way. You know, typically most 3-way herbicides are going to be 1.5 ounces per gallon, and use it that way. And that should work plenty well, especially with the heat we're still having. The drought is terrible. Yeah, man. We had actually, I think we had a little more than 1 inch on Monday. And then actually the storm just came through here, but from the sound of it, we probably only got a little over 1/3 of an inch. Had mad wind though, mad wind. What do you use on Wild Violets or Creeping Charlie, Louisville, Kentucky? Scott, tons of stuff, man. Tons of stuff. My man, Yard Therapy. There he is. What's up, David? For wild violets or creeping Charlie, I love to use triclopyr. Triclopyr is my favorite in that instance. What you can do is run 3/4 of an ounce of Turfline ester and 3/4 of an ounce of 3-way herbicide, and that will take care of any wild violet or creeping Charlie issue you have. You may require a repeat application on your wild violets, but for the most part, you should be good. CD Andrews, have fun watching the Dodgers game, man. Have fun with it. Have fun with it. But yeah, triclopyr. The other thing you can use is quinclorac 3-way. That's going to be a good mix for violets and creeping Charlie. Run full rates of both. You can also use quinclorac and triclopyr. You can also use quinclorac and tenacity. But I would stick with the triclopyr 3-way mix. I think you'll have your best results out of that. Out here in California, low 80s, high 70s. Is it too late to overseed fescue? No, sir. It is prime time. That is going to be your best bet there, Peg Junk. You can go to greencastonline.com and look up what your soil temperature is in your area. As long as you're over 55 degrees, you're good to rock and roll. You can even do it if it's less than 55 degrees. Your soil temperature is less than 55 degrees. Typically, it's just slower to come up. It still will come up. It just takes longer. But yeah, those temperatures right there. No, I'd say you're right there in the prime of it, the prime time. Do you recommend any good organic fertilizer? Sorry if you've already mentioned, just now chiming in. Thank you. Gore Baby. I mean, all of them are really going to be good. You know, it depends on how much you want to spend. You know, for me and my business, I couldn't afford to use a product like Milorganite, but I can get the same biosolids that are in Milorganite that do not have the Milorganite label that are super cheap, and so I can use that. So as far as a branded organic fertilizer, any of them that are out there that are, you know, branded organic fertilizers are going to be good to go. So whether that's Milorganite or I honestly don't know the names of the other ones that are in the big box stores, but they should all be good. If you have a soil test, it's best to, you know, hold up your soil test, look exactly in what you're lacking or what you need boosted, and then take a look at that fertilizer label and make sure it has that in there. One thing to keep in mind about Milorganite is going to have a fair amount of micronutrient content, even more so than just iron. It's actually really high in molybdenum, which is going to help with color too. But micronutrients are going to help your NP and K work more efficiently. So, you know, make sure your soil test tells you what you need to have done, and make sure the fertilizer you choose correlates with what your soil test shows you need. Derek, us mass lawns have better lawns than you southern boys. Hey, Derek, you need to get in. You need to get into thelawnforum.com and go look at Ware out there in Arkansas. Look at his Bermuda lawn. I'll take that Bermuda over your KBG any day. Any day. Is it too late to overseed in northern Illinois? Again, I honestly don't know what the soil temperature is like in northern Illinois. I would go to greencastonline.com. Let me see if I can do that real quick, and look at your soil temperatures, because really, when it comes to establishing seed, it's all about soil temps. The higher the soil temp, the faster it will establish. And then the trick is to make sure that your ambient air temperatures are not too high for that to happen. So if you are in northern Illinois, let's see where we are right now. Northern Illinois, you should be good, but you are running out of time pretty quickly. So if you're going to do it, get it done now. Hurry up. Hurry up. Get out there and oversee the yard. You should be good, Trimec. You should be good, sir. Mickey, how do I figure out what's causing dark brown areas in my lawn? Man, that's a great question. So first, what I would do is look at the big picture. Is that dark area in an area where a tree used to be? Is that dark area in full sun? Is that dark area in shade? So then you have those list of questions. How much water is this dark area getting? How dry is this dark area? That's a whole nother set of questions. And then actually look at the damage itself. Is it white or gray? Is it more of a yellow or an orange, or, you know, like you said, like a brown? Really dial in what exactly shade of brown is that. And then actually look at the damage on the leaf blade. Does it have a lesion in the leaf blade? Does it have a circular spot on the leaf blade? Or is the whole leaf blade just wiped out? Because those can help tell you different things. If it's something that's affecting the root system, like a grub worm or heat or being zapped of nitrogen because of too much organic matter in the ground, like from a tree stump breaking down, then typically it's just going to cook that entire grass blade just straight down to the ground. There's no lesions on it or anything. If it's going to be a drought issue, if it's too dry, typically that grass blade is just going to needle. It's still going to be there. It's still a whole little color, but it's going to needle. If it is disease related, usually it's going to have a lesion where part of the grass blade is affected, the other part of the grass blade is not, or it'll have a spot on it. So those are just a couple of different tests you can do there. Lastly, you can also send me an email of some different pictures of it at thegrassfactor@gmail.com, and I'll look at it and be able to give you hopefully a better idea of what it is. Alex, love the vids. Hope the family is well. I have a question. Does Drive Accelerate need an MSO surfactant to work and kill crabgrass? Alex, I appreciate that. The kids are great. They're in there raising Cain. Does Drive Accelerate really need an MSO? Yes, it does. It does not have the knockdown power to do it without one. Now, if you're later into the season when the crabgrass is super, super mature, chances are you may be able to get away without using it. But even then, you're running a pretty big risk. And in fact, what I would recommend instead of using an MSO is use a crop oil concentrate. That is going to do you better than MSO, especially using a product like quinclorac. All right, sit down, son. Let's see here. Okay. Is Ornamac 170 good to use to kill Bermuda grass? Also, is it too late to put down in North Carolina around Charlotte? No, it's definitely not too late, North Carolina or Charlotte. I mean, you're right there in the thick of it. Let's see what this Ornamac is you speak of. Ornamac 170. To be honest, I've never heard of it, so I don't know what the active ingredient is to be able to tell you whether or not it's going to work. So let me find a label of it real quick. Fluazafop. Okay, so this is the same thing as Ornamac 170 is going to be the same thing as Fusilade or as Ornamac over the top. It's just going to be a higher concentration of active ingredient. Will it work to take out Bermuda grass? Yes. However, it's probably late to get down the amount of applications you need to completely kill it. But it will be a good start. The only thing about Ornamac is that there's no real program to get rid of Bermuda grass. There's no real number of applications. So unfortunately, if you're using that product, you just have to continue to spray it until the Bermuda is gone for good. One thing to keep in mind is that Ornamac 170 has a reseed interval where after you spray it, you cannot reseed for a certain amount of time. That's why I like Pilux. All my soil tests show is phosphorus here in central North Carolina. It shows low phosphorus here in central North Carolina. I've started using RGS this fall. Do you think I need to go out with more phosphorus or wait and see if RGS improves soil on its own? Yes, if you're low in phosphorus, RGS does not contain phosphorus. So yeah, start supplementing with phosphorus. What the RGS is going to help do is form a weak organic acid, is going to form a weak organic bond with the phosphorus to help it to become more plant available as you apply it. Phosphorus on its own, diammonium phosphate, is not really easily taken up by a plant. It has to come in contact with the root itself. So the problem a lot of people run into is that they've been applying phosphorus, but none of it is plant available. So yes, begin supplementing with it, and when you use the RGS, it will help it to become more plant available. Let's see here. That's I can't read. I'm at a loss in the sandy soil, cool season, sod planted everywhere, only to be taken over by Bermuda and crab. It's like 50-50 or worse. No Pilex and Cali till next year. Using turf line, but it's all uphill. Man, that's a good yeah, that's a tough one there. Sandy soil, cool season grass, sod planted everywhere, only to be taken over by Bermuda. All right, buddy, go back in there with Mom.
I'm tired.
Okay, then here, just get under here. Turfline's going to be your best bet. Maybe Flazafop. I mean, I just don't know if you got a whole lot of options there, really. I mean, that's just brutal, man. That is brutal. You are fighting an uphill battle. That is really difficult. Shoo. Yeah, especially in sandy soil, man. I just can't really think of anything to do that would help minimize the invasion of the Bermuda. As far as the crab, even if it is sod, you're safe to go ahead and make quinclorac applications to sod. So I wouldn't worry too much about that. Get after it that way, and then really make sure you hammer your Bermuda grass with the turf line, because that's pretty tough right there, man. Corporate HQ, what up, dude? It sounded like using Milo and Kim's should do the job mainly. Is that right? Yeah, exactly. Here's the thing. Yes, organic fertilizer is good, but it's not the end all be all. If you're really looking for that next high performance, to really maximize the output you get out of your turf grass, an organic fertilizer alone is not going to get it there, especially where I am, my part of the country. So, using a organic fertilizer to deliver your synthetic fertilizer, like applying Milo and a synthetic fert, is actually a much more efficient way to deliver your nitrogen, and you'll actually get an increase in performance out of your fertilizers, more so than the organic could do alone, and more so than the synthetic could do alone. That's why a quote-unquote bridge products are so popular in the agriculture industry, because they're actually generating higher yields than just a synthetic and just an organic application alone. And that's due to the carbon content tying up the macro and micronutrients and helping a more efficient delivery system to the plant. Are there any good preventative fungicides, insecticides out there? If so, is it effective for a long time, and do most clients seem to gravitate towards adding it to the overall program? What's up, Joaquin? Gore, so yeah, there's great preventative fungicides. I use azoxystrobin in combination with propiconazole. It's effective for 28 days. That's the longest residual you can get on a fungicide. And I'm at the position where I require my clients to take it, because the biggest thing is it's my name that's on the it's my name that's on their yard. And if they get brown patch in their yard, starts to look like crap every year, I don't want that on my name. So that's just part of my program, is I just do a preventative fungicide or a curative fungicide, because I don't want my name to be associated with a yard that, every summer it gets the same disease over and over. So just to circumvent all that, I do preventative fungicides. Preventative insecticides, acelepryn is going to be as good as it gets. Outside of that, your other choice is imidacloprid. If you're using imidacloprid, be careful. It's a neonicotinoid. Make sure you adhere to all the label recommendations, because it's about to be pulled off the market, if I had to guess, because of the effect that people like us are having on the environment wiping out bee populations with it. Notice some peat moss spots under my Bermuda today too. Any suggestions? Thanks so much. If you got moss underneath your Bermuda, there's a couple things you can do. There's actually a few things you can do. One, check your soil pH, see what you're at. If you're extremely low, then use a fast-acting lime. I don't know about a fast-acting gypsum. I've never had a experience with it. I believe gypsum is calcium sulfate, but I don't see it being able to work fast. Let me look it up real quick. I would think it's just too hard for it to break down quickly. CaSO4. Yeah. I don't know if that will happen quickly. I would recommend using more of a calcium carbonate, so a fast-acting lime would probably be a better choice if your pH is out of whack. If not, then you may want to do a couple of sequential applications of a product called Carfentrazone. Quicksilver is designed to control it, or you can go out with a high rate of iron, ferrous sulfate, any of the heavy metals. Metal elements will control that moss. So there's your options: ferrous sulfate, quicksilver, carfentrazone, or calcium carbonate. Don't you have a headache after answering all these questions? No, I don't have a headache, man. This is my passion and my hobby and my career. So I enjoy it just as much as other people do. There's a few things in life I really enjoy. I enjoy my family. I enjoy fishing. I enjoy college football, and I enjoy turf grass. That's kind of my deal, man. So no real chore in doing this. I enjoy it way too much. I'm gonna do a quick Google search on fast-acting gypsum real quick. See what the active ingredients in it are, because I just don't know. 96.5% gypsum. Nature's aerator. Oh, of course, it is inverted where I can't read it. All right, here we go. Spreader settings, calcium sulfate. Huh. Okay, so they introduced polymers in it to basically ionize it, or make it an anion, and I don't know how much faster that's gonna make it work. It might. I don't think you're going to get the results out of it that you want. Now, if you were able to incorporate it into the soil and start over, then yeah, I think you'd be happy with it. But as far as an over-the-top application, I don't think you'll have any luck with it. Eli, thoughts on Butch Jones? I don't want to be too dramatic here, but he's got to go. Butch Jones has got to go. I've still got friends in South Carolina, and I've got really good friends in South Carolina, and when the opposing team prints T-shirts that says "Keep Butch Jones," the rest of the SEC knows Butch Jones is that bad. Then at this point, to have the football reputation that the University of Tennessee has, but to still have him on board is just, at this point, it's embarrassing every game he shows up. So I believe he's got to go. Can humic acid really eliminate having a top dress with compost or peat moss, been fertilized with milo and some urea, and can't make my own humic acid from compost? Derek, yeah, absolutely it can. So the carbon content is what is really the trick in the humic acid and its ability to chelate. So yeah, so where compost is actually going to provide a nutrient source, so there's actually going to be an analysis to compost. Humic acid plus a synthetic can help replace a compost or peat moss, because then you're actually supplying it with a loaded nutrient source as well as carbon, which is the same thing that a compost or peat moss or organic fertilizer is giving you. So the difference is just that it's a lot cheaper. You cannot make your own humic acid from compost, because I don't know how, because there's probably not enough carbon content to extract from compost. It may be something you want to try. You would use a product called potassium hydroxide. You would want to drop the pH of your solution down to about potassium hydroxide. You would want to raise your pH up to about a 12 or 11, and allow it to quote unquote brew, allow your compost to brew in that super high pH. And then you would want to strain it and then begin to bring that pH down and strain off anything that comes out of solution after that. That will capture all your humic and fulvic acids out of that mix. And I would probably leave a finished product around like a pH 9, 9.5, maybe even 10. So could you, I don't know if there's enough carbon content or enough humate in it. If you have a source for Leonardite shale, then yeah, you could make your own humic acid. What you would be making from compost most likely would be a compost tea. Joaquin, Matt, any long-lasting pre-emergent for cool season grass? Prodiamine, let's see. Pendimethalin is going to work. Prodiamine is probably going to be the longest lasting at the max rate. You can use Gallery, not as long lasting, but there's another option in there, Gallery. Isoxaben is the active ingredient in it, but for the most part, you're going to be stuck with prodiamine or pendimethalin or dithiapyr dimension. NCAP fast-acting iron has gypsum in the mix. There you go. There you go. I aerated, overseeded, and fertilized this last week in September here in Missouri. Where's the GIE? Dennis, the GIE is in Louisville, Kentucky. So not too far away from you there in Missouri. Let's see, if you aerated, overseeded, fertilized then I'd say you're about geared up for another round of fertilizer there in Missouri, aren't you? How many times a year would you put down humic? I would put down humic every time you put down a fertilizer. So, yeah, just every time you put down fertilizer, go ahead and tie it up with humic and apply it that way. So if you fertilize once a month, then you put down humic once a month. If you fertilize 4 times a year, then put down humic 4 times a year. Air temperatures are going to be 75 high and 50 low later this week when it warms up. Can I put down 2 pounds urea per 1,000, or is it too cold? No source of ammonium sulfate here yet. Yeah, Rob, no, you'll be good. You could probably continue using urea till maybe about mid-November, something like that. So yeah, that's what I would do is do that. And man, I can't believe you don't have a source for ammonium sulfate there. Man, you got to go to a co-op. Surely a co-op is going to have a ammonium sulfate source there. This one has me stumped. Mowing height for Bermuda. I know it's low, but I started mowing high at 4 inches before I started learning anything. So now if I cut it down to 3, it will be brown. Should I just stay cutting high? All right, corporate. I did a video about this. Shoot me an email. I will send you the link to it. The video is called "Why will my Bermuda not stay green?" Something like that. Why won't my Bermuda stay green? So you can maintain it high. That's fine. That's fine. Or you can maintain it low. That's fine. Just know that the most important thing for maintaining color on Bermuda is mowing frequency, not necessarily mowing height. Yeah, you can get more node development and therefore more density out of low mowing because it has more opportunity to reach sunlight. Whereas if you got a taller canopy, you get a longer stem. There's more space in between those stems. So what happens is when you mow it low, you usually get a stem that's about this long. And then you have your actual green that comes up from on top of it. And then you mow that. And as you mow it, the stem gets longer and longer and longer. And then before long, every time you cut it down to the stem. And that's why it looks brown after you cut it. So it's the same thing. If you mow it high, you know, you're cutting up here, you're cutting up here. That stem gets longer, 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 and then you're only cutting stems. So what do? You come in, you scalp it really good. I wouldn't do it this time of year. You can do it in the spring, but scalp it really good, and then begin maintaining it at a lower height. Just know that realistically, Bermuda needs to be mowed at minimum once a week. That's the minimum for Bermuda grass. Let's see, Southern States in a small farm and garden store site. Well, but I'd rather go to Charlotte Green Source than buy Green Source. Yeah, I don't blame you there, Rob. Me too. But Site One, I think if you get a straight ammonium sulfate 2100, Site One actually does have decent prices on it. I think last time I got a price from them, it was like $14 a bag, I think. So, what's a good slow release approach in the spring without making fescue go crazy, doubling the time to mow, trying to find a good happy medium with great results? Gore, baby, there's not one. I mean, man, you can try anything you want, everything you want. Whether it's, the Screaming Green, organic fertilizers. The fact of the matter is that fescue, period, is just going to go bananas. It's going to go ham come spring, and there's no way around it. In fact, you can do a test if you want and do 1 yard with a half pound of nitrogen and do another yard with 1.5 pounds of nitrogen, and you'll barely be able to see the difference between the two in terms of how fast it's growing. It's just going to go ham. So thanks, Corey. I really appreciate that, man. By applying organic fertilizers or applying something with growth hormones, the potential is there for it to retard the growth a little bit. So one thing like about that RGS product, it has the kelp in it. It's going to have it's going to flood the plant with cytokinin, which could slow that growth and maximize more root development than just surge growth. So you may want to try that route, combining it with micronutrients and backing off your end so you still get the color. You get the root and plant development from the cytokinins, but you don't get the surge growth that comes from a normal high-end supplementation. But there's just not really a good answer there. Lamont, what is a good fertilizer to put down along with Milorganite for tall turf fescue? Man, it depends. It depends. If it were me, knowing what my soil conditions are like here, I would probably go out with like a 12-0-12 or a 15-0-10 or a 20-0-10 with a product like Milorganite. And I would get my potassium from potassium sulfate. Now, that would be ideal for me. And then my end sources come from biosolids and ammonium sulfate and urea. Or just urea. Just polycoated urea, and potassium sulfate. But I have soils that are naturally really high in phosphorus, so that's why I want that middle number 0. Jim Pete, my man. Yes, sir. Kentucky bound. Kentucky bound. This is one of the few times I'm actually excited to cross into the great state of Kentucky. I'm Tennessee through and through, so I will always give them a tough time for that. Chris Helms is hiding in the background too. What's up, Chris? Chris, are you going to the GIE? I hope so. I hope so. For those of you that do not know, Pete is also going to the GIE, so that will be an opportunity to meet us. I don't know about any of y'all, but I'm more excited to meet Pete than any of you. So I don't want to hear it from you. If you think you're more excited to meet Pete than me, then I'll arm wrestle you. Do what, son? Okay, but you got to be really quiet. Okay. Okay. Pete is the man. All right, Rob, you have a good one. I will have a great trip to Kentucky. I'm excited about it. In fact, I'm at my 1 hour mark, so I'm going to go ahead and call this broadcast for tonight. You bring me a national championship shirt. Bring me a national championship GCI Turf Services shirt. That's what I want. Chris, you better get yourself up to the GIE. I'm telling you now. All right, y'all. I appreciate everybody tuning in. Save your well, real quick, I'll try and get this answered. Recommended per gallon rate for spray grade ammonium sulfate. It depends on how much ammonium sulfate, how much actual nitrogen you want to get down, and your volume that you are actually spraying. So, Jeremy, if you can send me an email, thegrassfactor@gmail.com, I can help you out with this, but I need to know your spray volume, your actual spray rate, and your volume of mix that you're going to be using. Please don't do that. So, yeah, if you let me know those two things. So if you're applying at 2 gallons per 1,000 and you've got a 100-gallon tank and you wanted to put down a ½ pound of N per 1,000, then you would put in, let's see, 250 pounds roughly of ammonium sulfate in 100 gallons of water to spray. All right, y'all. Have a very good evening. Thanks again for watching. Pete, I'll see you. Chris, I'll see you. Everybody who's going to be at the GIE, please come by and say hey to me. Let's hang out. Let's have an adult beverage and have some good conversation. Again, thank you for all the support I get from you guys. I really appreciate it. Y'all have a good evening, and we'll be in touch soon. Tomorrow's Monday, so I will have another vlog video coming out. Y'all take care. Have a good night. Dab on it, Noah. Dab. There you go.